Hi everyone. So I have a passage here today that I am going to read. However, there is some questions that I need to answer. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at what is being asked of me, and I can get a better understanding of what my purpose for reading the passage is today. All right. So the first question, what is the main idea of the passage and what are the details to support the main idea? So when I read that question and think about what it's asking me, it seems that I need to find the main idea of my passage and details that were in the text to support that main idea. So when I think about how I'm going to go about doing that, to find the main idea and those details, that's going to be all in my passage. So I'm going to have to read this passage carefully through to find those main idea and details. And I think using my close reading strategies will really help me accomplish this. When I use my close reading strategies, I'm going to read the passage through 2 times. And this allows me to take in the information and figure out what is most important. And I also can highlight and underline or star any word or sentence or phrase that I might be unfamiliar with or have a question about, or anything that I just think is interesting. So close reading really allows me to get an understanding of what the passage is about, and that's what I need to do to be able to find the main idea. So when I look at my questions again, I just want to make sure that I know I'm finding one main idea and then 3 supporting details. So I'm just going to kind of keep that in the back of my mind as I go through my passage. So this first time reading through with my close reading, I'm just going to take note of any words that I might be uncomfortable with or any words that might be challenging to me. This first time reading, I'm just going to get an idea or a gist of what the passage is about. I want to see if I can understand the main idea, and if I have any questions, I can make sure I can get those answered before I continue on. So this first time reading through, I'm just going to highlight words that I might be unfamiliar with, and then really just carefully read and take in all of the information. And when I'm reading, I'm going to be reading silently and in my head. However, it can help to read aloud as well. So I'm going to just read this silently again 1 time through just to get the gist, only making note of words that I might not know. Right, so I'm going to bring you guys back. I kind of paused that so you didn't have to just watch me read that through. So I read through very closely and carefully, and there was a lot of information in this passage that was very interesting. After reading, I definitely think that the main idea does have to do about octopus, and that kind of is reinforced by that photo that I first saw up here in the corner. However, when I think more about it, I do believe that this passage goes a step further and really is talking about ways that the octopus can defend itself. So I remember reading that first time through just some specific skills that they use to protect themselves. So it is more specific than just talking about an octopus. It is how octopuses defend themselves. So I am going to put that into my graphic organizer. It helps keep me organized, and that way I don't forget that this is the main idea that I need to find details for. So how octopuses defend themselves is my main idea. And as I was reading, I highlighted the word siphon because I have not heard it in this context before, so I wanted to come back to it and just get a better understanding of the word itself. So a siphon, you know, when I think of a siphon, I think of like a tube or like a pipe. But when I use this whole sentence in the context of the passage, it seems that on this octopus, a siphon is a tube-like part of its body that they can shoot ink out of. Another thing I could do is I could also use the dictionary to look up the definition of this word. But I made note of that, and now I feel like I have a better understanding of how that octopus shoots their ink. All right, so I have read through my passage one time through. I clarified any words that I might have been unfamiliar with or that I wanted to get a better understanding of. And I definitely do feel that I have the gist of the article. You know, the main idea is how octopuses defend themselves. So the next step that I need to do is I need to read through the passage a second time. And I'm going to chunk up this passage, so I'm going to read paragraph 1 and make highlights and then talk about them and kind of go back and see how those work, and then I'm going to continue on with the second paragraph. You know, breaking it into chunks allows me to focus on smaller sections and just ensure that I really do understand what that paragraph is saying before I go on to the next one. All right. So again, I'm going to start reading and I'm going to highlight as I read as well. All right. So in my first paragraph of the passage, I did do some highlighting. So I highlighted this sentence or phrase. It can use some pretty incredible skills to get away. So I think I highlighted that because that's important. I think that was important to the article. I think it sets up and introduces how the main idea is going to fit into the passage. You know, it's telling me that these octopus have some incredible skills. And even this next sentence or phrase, they use clever ways to fool their attackers. So these aren't specific ways that the octopus defends itself. However, I did think it was important for me to highlight that because it sets up and introduces the main idea. You know, it introduces to us that the passage is going to be about how octopuses protect themselves. All right. And then it can change the color of its skin to match the sand. So I highlighted this sentence. I thought this was interesting. I did not know that octopuses had this skill. So I highlighted it, one, because it was interesting to me, but when I look back at this sentence, it's also a specific detail that supports the main idea. Remember, my main idea is how octopuses defend themselves, and I need specific details to support that. So one specific way that the octopus defends itself is that it can change the color of its skin to match the sand. So I thought that was really great. So I'm going to make another little highlight so that I make sure that this is a detail for my main idea. But I'm going to keep going and then come back and check. All right. So again, I'm going to do the same thing with my second paragraph. I'm just going to read through, highlight, and do the same thing. All right. So when I read through my second paragraph, I did highlight some more words and phrases as well. So this word invertebrate, I highlighted this word because I just think that's a great word. It tells me that it means they don't have backbones. So I wanted to make note of that, and I'm going to comment on there that this is an interesting word that I could add to my own vocabulary maybe. And like I said, tells me what it means. It means that it doesn't have a backbone. All right, and this next phrase, they can squeeze themselves into small spaces between the rocks. Again, this is a specific detail that supports my main idea. Remember, when I remember my main idea is how octopuses defend themselves. So squeezing themselves into a small space to get away is a specific way that they protect themselves. So I'm going to use my little comment thing and just make note again that this is possibly supporting my main idea. All right, perfect. And now shooting ink again. I really think that this is another specific example of a way that the octopus can defend itself. So I highlighted that because I was thinking, well, that would help support my main idea. So let me make note of that. And so very large brain. When I come back and look at this one, I reread, and it seems that it's an interesting fact, but I don't think that it's a specific way that the octopus defends itself. Like, for example, it's not doing anything, it's just they're telling us that it has a very large brain, whereas shooting ink is an action that the octopus takes to protect itself. So, again, I'm going to make note that this is just an interesting fact, but it does not support the main idea. So now that I have read through the passage, I'm going to go back and look at my comments. So these first two, I remember, I talked about how they introduce the passage and explain the main idea is going to be how octopuses defend themselves, but they don't actually have specific actions that they take. So I think those are just interesting but don't support the main idea. This comment, I did think this one supported the main idea, and I'm still pretty confident. It can change the color of its skin to match the sand. And it can squeeze themselves into small spaces. So let's go back to our graphic organizer. And octopus can chew ink was one. Squeeze into small spaces. And change the color of their skin. And when I double check, I think I looked through because those were just interesting words. This, well, is an interesting fact. Again, is not a specific action that the octopus takes to defend itself. All right, and then when I go back and check, I have my main idea, how octopuses defend themselves, and 3 supporting details. They shoot ink, they squeeze into small spaces, and they change the color of their skin. So that is how you can use your close reading strategies, or how I use my close reading strategies to help me find the main idea. First, I look carefully at what is being asked of me and understand the purpose for reading. And then I read through the passage once just to get a gist and making note of any words that I might be unfamiliar with. And then the second time that I read through, I highlight and underline and find those supporting details. Thank you guys. If you have any questions, let me know.